everybody. I'm going to do my best here without a mask. There we go. And no gloves. So to use this tire machine, it is pretty complex. The absolute first step you need to do every time is, this is weird, I haven't worked in the shop for a year. So hopefully everything's where we left it a year ago. First thing you need to do, use the valve spring or valve core tool and remove the valve core out of, should have done a Honda wheel, out of the center valve stem right here. That comes out fairly simple, counterclockwise, just like that. And you let the air out. I put those back up here so we don't lose track of them and use them later on. Then what you need to do is remove the vehicle's wheel weights from the balancing process, which we will show you later. Those wheel weights come off both of the front and the rear of the tire. With this tire, always put it back also. Oops. On the rear of the tire, there is one. Okay, my bad. You pull that off, just like so. Put those pliers over for later. After that, we're ready to begin. So there are 3 pedals. The first pedal opens and closes the rim clamps. The second pedal brings in the bead breaker, which we're going to use next. And the third pedal rotates your table. Why we're not rotating, I don't even know. Let's try that again. All right. I'm going to pause this video, get this figured out, and I'll be right back. Well, as it turns out, everybody, the breaker was blown. So, first step, you will align the area at the edge of the tire and the bead, or the rim, excuse me, into that clamp. Hopefully that's in our field of view. You can steady it out, line it up, and step on the center pedal. It will come in and break the bead of the tire. What does that mean? It means it's now separated the tire from the rim. So rotate it. Get the other side. Bring it in. Flip it around. And do it again. Oops. Rotate. Putting it up. Now you step on the pedal. It opens the clamp. And now the tire is clamped, able to be rotated on the machine. So while all these machines are making strange noises, we're going to move you in a little closer, and here we go. So now to remove the tire from the machine, you bring the arm in. Drop this so it is resting against the rim itself and lock it into position. Then the bar, which you will always put back in the machine, will be right there. And you will use this end to first go in the groove of the arm, hook it to the bead, push the opposite side, bring the bead up and over. There's no spring. Gently rotate. And the first half of the tire is off. Lift up. Now here's the tricky part. Use this guy. Go down to the bottom bead. Lift slightly up on the tire. Oh, it is not easy. Pry it over. Hold it gently. Rotate. And at this point you can take this bar and put it back where it belongs because it is only for tire removal. And just like that, the tire has been removed from the machine, or from the rim. You can step on the clamp and release it, inspect it closer, polish your beads if they're dirty, and then let's say we have to put the tire back on. Well, here we go. Set it on, secure it with the rim clamps. I always make sure it's round. If it gets stuck at any time, you can put your foot under the pedal and rotate it backwards. You then place your tire on the machine at a slight angle on the rim. Bring this arm in, which you didn't release, so it's still set for that specific rim. Push the tire on the rim as best you can, just like that. And then slowly rotate it, spot it, and the easy part is done. The upper part is the most difficult, where students have a lot of trouble. So you can normally do this with a little bit of lubrication instead of dry. And what you'll do is lube the bead of the tire so that it pops on. The lube we use is up here, and it is disgusting. So it has settled for a year. We will take this organic-based substance, going to gently massage the bead, like so. Go around. I'm going to keep wiping here. Just like that. I know, little goes a long way. We're going to put it back because we always put everything back. And then, here's the trick. You need to pretend your hand has super glue on it. The trick is, since the rim curves like this, we want to push the tire into the curve of that rim so the tire goes over, gives us extra space on the opposite side, and allows itself to mount to the rim. So I'm going to push down like this and pretend I now have super glued my hand, but I'm also going to watch this finger. So it's pushed down, it's pushed into the rim, and I got it on the first try. At this point, you can release your upper locking arm, and you can now take the hose. You need to always hold the hose at all times. If you step on it while you're not holding it, it can fly around. And everyone thinks it's funny until it flies around and breaks your teeth. So hold it. It will clip onto the rim. It is now secured on. And what you need to do is leave that valve stem out. It allows the air to force in quickly and pop the bead. So we're going to hear two very scary loud noises. That is the top bead popping. Now we wait for the bottom. Oh, why hasn't it popped yet? And this is my least favorite part. Okay, it's still going. There it is! Gah! Now, you can release it because it will hold air. We get our valve core and our valve core tool back. We put it in. Screw it in gently. And the assumption is the tire pressure on this will be about 30 psi. So you clip this on, and the pedal I'm using is right down there. And there's a gauge on the side of the machine. And what we are going to do is make sure that works and fill this tire up until the meter reads roughly 30 psi. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is tire mounting and dismounting. Awesome, right? Just always remember, before you start the whole tire removal process, to remove the air out of the machine, or you will have the living bejeebus scared out of you. All right, hope you enjoyed that. I am going to now set up the balancer so you can learn how to... All right, well, hopefully it hasn't been too long to the point where you forgot the sounds of airplanes that will be occasionally interrupting this lesson. So, for the wheel balancer, we are going to do 3 different settings. This is the older one. We got a new one, but I don't know if I like it yet. And it hasn't been built. So, first things first, you are going to need to obtain the wheel or tire you wish to balance. And I'm just doing a different one for the sake of learning. First, make sure there are no weights on it, because that's cheating. I'm removing the weights. Expect you all to be able to do this perfectly when we return. So, the first thing you need to do is find a spacer that goes into this hole. So, I'm making sure, there we go, I'm going to tilt down a little bit. You don't want a spacer that goes all the way through. or can't go in at all, so you want one that gets stuck partially in there. So that one's decent. I'm going to check this guy over here, and that's what we're looking for right there. So spacers go on the mount. You put the spacer cone onto the shaft. You will then put the wheel on, and you will thread the holder or the oversized plastic wing nut on thereafter. So here we go. Lifting it up. You'll also notice I'm doing this tire because the truck tire weighs 900 pounds. We're going to start the rotation. Tighten it up, and we're ready to truly begin. So, the first setting you need to do is figure out the rim diameter of the machine, or of the tire. You look at the size of the tire. This one says B78-14. This is a 14-inch tire. You need to set the rim diameter and put the notch to 14. The second is how wide the rim is. You do that with this delightful medieval torture device. This will clip to the inside of the rim on both sides and give you a reading. Our reading is roughly, I'll do it the other way so you could see it at home, 5. So on the rim, this was pointing to 5. We set it to 5. And the last one's tricky. It's the measure of the machine's distance to the rim. How do you do that? Oh, right here. And this guy comes out, touches the inside of the rim, and there's a scale on here, and that is 6. So now you're at the fun point. You spin it slowly until it beeps once, and you release. It will then detect the balance of the rim, stop it with the clutch, and lock. So now is when we get a little tricky. I just realized with these lights it may be hard to see. Let's guide these away a little. Come on, computer. There we go. So, with these lights, we're looking at this gauge, and as we slowly go, you'll rotate, 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 and it will stop, or you'll see a number. And there's the 1.00 and 2 red arrows on the inside. What does that mean? That means at this point, we have to find a 1 ounce weight and clamp it to the inside of the rim. How do you know the appropriate spot to clamp it in? When it reaches the double zeros, you hammer it in as best you can to the 12 o'clock position. So I guess if I were better at this, I would have found a 1 ounce weight ahead of time, but instead I'm a dingus. So here I am, struggle busing it to find a 1. So here we go. This weight has a 1.0 on it. What you want to do is, when you're done handling these, wash your hands because they're lead. The best way to hammer the weights on is to stand on the opposite side of the tire. Hold it with your abs. Place the weight at the 12 o'clock position once the double arrows line up. Then you take your hammer and gently smack the weight so that it becomes affixed to the rim. Then you begin rotating the tire more. Now we're going to look for the outside arrows to light up to see what weight needs to be hammered to the outside of the machine or wheel. And that is showing us a 0.5. So we're going to move this here. We are going to find a 0.5 that of course a student put back in the proper location. Get our double zeros. Sorry, there are double arrows. Hold it with our leg or abs. Place it in the 12 o'clock position and hit it. So, now that it's been hit, this is the best part. Did you do it? Did you do it correctly? Here's the moment of truth. So, you gently rotate it until it beeps, and you watch this screen. If all zeros show up, you did it correctly. First try. If that doesn't happen, you just take off the weights and start over and do it again, or it'll give you a readout of where to put them. So that, ladies and gentlemen, in 6 minutes, is how to prep, mount, calibrate, and balance tires on a very old Snap-on tire machine. Have a good one.